Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa Mitrakin, and today I'm putting two of my favorite pencil brands to a test. For the longest time, my main brand of colored pencils was Prismacolor. I have the 150 pencil set, and I was always really happy with them. I just didn't feel like I needed to change. I tend to buy new things when I'm solving a problem, like when something that I'm using just isn't cutting it anymore. But I never had any complaints about Prismacolors, so I never strayed. Yet you guys kept telling me that I need to try Black Widows. You were so insistent that one of you actually sent me a box of 5 brand new Widow sets. And I can't thank you enough for that. As you suspected, I fell in love with the new pencils right away. But now I can't decide which ones I like better and why. So I decided to let them fight it out. Same character, 2 sides of the face, Widows on one side, Prismas on the other. Let the games begin. I wanted to test my pencils in an actual working environment. I tend to draw on gray paper, and it's important to me to see how the colors hold up against the toned background. I also established my highlights with white charcoal, so both brands need to work with that as well. It's probably important to say at this point that this is not a color along. This isn't even a coloring page. It's just a sketch that I made specifically to test both pencil brands. This is a product review. I'm not sponsored by either of these brands, by the way. I just want to walk you guys through my experience, step by step, giving you my 100% honest opinions of the pros and cons, and you can decide for yourselves which of my conclusions apply to your drawing or coloring needs. I will have all the colors that I used pop up on the screen, but I don't claim that this is the only way and the only order in which these colors should be applied to get the same result. I draw in color very intuitively, which is a fancy way of saying I just make things up as I go along. So please don't take my order of operations or color choices literally on this one, but rather pay attention to what I have to say about how each of these pencils perform. The things that I'm specifically looking for are color saturation, especially on toned paper, the ease with which pigment attaches to the page, how well the colors blend on paper, how well do they layer, and can both brands achieve the same exact look? In other words, can the left side and the right side appear like they were colored with the same brand pencils at the same time? My subject today is the lovely Harley Quinn. I love Margot Robbie, and especially this character of hers. So, inspired by her new movie, Birds of Prey, I decided that this would be a fun face to draw. On the Black Widow side of the portrait, I started with a brown color for my basic line work and immediately jumped into establishing my light highlights with white charcoal. I was working from a photo reference, so I didn't have to make any decisions on the light source. I found my first layer of color to be very pleasant and soft. The color layered over the gray toned paper very nicely. I feel like even working with very light colors, the paper didn't need to be primed. You can color right over gray or tan paper, and the color comes out nice and clean. Very impressed so far. On the Prismacolor side, I started the same way, white charcoal highlights on gray toned paper, but instead of starting the skin tone with a light peach or cream color, I started with a dark brown for my shading. I know Prismacolors pretty well at this point, and the thing that I love about them is how well the lighter color layers on top of darker ones. Establishing my middle tone shadows first and then adding a lighter color is a much better effect than the other way around. Actually, with Prismacolors, I don't really like going light to dark. It often results in weird little artifacts and scratch marks, and sometimes even unwanted color distortion. But light colors over dark ones is the way to blend with this particular brand, I feel. Now, I didn't actually jump from side to side in real life. I finished the left side with Black Widows, and then I finished the right side with Prismacolors. But for the sake of demonstration, I will be jumping back and forth so that you guys get a nice comparison. I built up my shadows here with a dusty purple color and a strong brown. With Black Widows, it seems that layering dark over light is the way to go. I tried reversing the process, adding some of my lighter colors on top of the already established dark shadows, and nothing happened. These are not like Prismacolors. You can't just add your lighter highlights afterwards. You have to plan ahead, and make sure not to go too dark too fast. So it's a matter of workflow, just something to consider. Black Widows, better to build up colors from light to dark. Prismacolors, you can go both ways, but you have an added bonus of being able to add light highlights on top, almost like with pastels. On the Prismacolor side, I've added my layer of light color using it as a blender, and I'm quite happy with the skin tone and texture. Now I can add more color and definition, jumping from light to dark tones as I please. Again, I'm very used to working with this brand, so I'm comfortable switching back and forth from light to dark, balancing my colors and contrast. With Widows, I'm still learning and experimenting. So far, I'm enjoying them a great deal. Let's see how they do on the bright color front. Time to add some red and pink. It's interesting. The colors are definitely vibrant and clean. The red is a gorgeous red, and there's a range of delicious pinks. But these pencils feel very different from Prismacolors. First, they actually feel somehow softer against the paper, which I like. But second, I feel like I'm sharpening them more often, and it seems to me that they're getting shorter faster than Prismas. Not so thrilled about that. And maybe it's just me. I will keep observing this. Meanwhile, in Prismacolor land, it's time to see how the vibrant blue holds up against the amazing red and pink delivered on the Black Widow side. I went with a blue that I actually never used before, True Blue. A 150 pencil set is nothing to sneeze at. There are at least 30 or 40 pencils that haven't even been sharpened yet, and I've had and actively used this set for almost a year. So pretty impressive. I see that a lot of people get turned off by the price of such a set. Certainly $100 for a box of pencils may seem overwhelming. Compare that to a more or less $20 value for a box of Black Widows. But consider what's inside. The 150 pencil set will clearly last me over a year, and I'm actively using it for weekly coloring tutorials plus personal projects. Whereas a single box of Black Widows contains only 24 pencils, and a single set of 24 won't cover all of your needs. I have 3 main and 2 skin tone sets in this brand, and I need to constantly use all of them to compete with the range of colors that the Prismacolor set gives me. So ultimately, it's the same value. It just seems like a huge leap to spend $100 on one box while spending $20 here and there is somehow psychologically easier. The new blue proved to be pretty amazing. No complaints there. It's exactly the shade and the saturation that I wanted. Just as good as the Widows. An interesting thing about the Widows pencils that will take some getting used to is the way that their pencils are arranged and named. In the Prismacolor set, you have 6 panels, each arranged in a beautiful and very logical gradient. You can clearly see how many and what kind of each color you have. Here, each set has a seemingly psychotic arrangement of colors, most of which you can't even see or guess unless you read the name on the black pencil or see the colored tip. And the names are a whole separate story. I love the names. Check this out. Rust, Leather, Toadstool, Fairy Floss, Brown Bug, the list goes on and on. And while some of these are obvious, not all of them are very intuitive. So you really need to get used to them. And you can't rely on the color next to them because you'll find your banana right next to your tarantula, which I don't even know what color that is. So you get the idea. It's completely and perfectly orchestrated chaos. But it all somehow makes sense. For instance, the colors that at first glance don't seem to belong in the skin tone sets are actually very valuable colors. You wouldn't think to have an olive or a mustard green in your skin tones, and yet here I am using it in the hair and the skin glow. I feel that a lot of thought went into organizing the skin tone sets. I'm very impressed with them. Actually, on this piece, the only color that I used that did not come from the skin tone sets is the red. That came from the primary box. Everything else is done with light and dark skin tones. The vibrant pinks with those golden mustard highlights wrap this up nicely. I'm super happy with the outcome. Wouldn't change a thing. But again, if you wanted to add some lighter highlights at this point, it wouldn't be possible. I tried, for science. The only way to add lighter highlights here now would be to switch to a different medium, like chalk pastels, acrylic paint, or even gel pens. Thankfully, I started with white charcoal, and I planned my coloring well, so everything is where it needs to be. On the Prismacolor side, we're about to have a historic moment. The death of my first Prismacolor pencil. That's right, I believe that after these few finishing touches on the eyelashes and the eyebrow, black will no longer be with us. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you finish a pencil. Impressive, huh? Why was black the first to go, you may ask, since I tell you time and time again that I rarely use black in coloring? I can explain. It's not what it looks like. When I got this set, I actually got it mainly for the gray and brown sections, and I immediately dove into doing a whole bunch of grayscale and sepia portraits with it. Needless to say, black got used a lot, but he served me well. And now his watch has ended. So here, judging by eye, I was able to find the right colors to balance the colors on the widow side of the face. But it's all situational. There's no side-by-side color chart that I can offer you here. There are too many color combinations that will achieve the same result. I would recommend that you try both of these brands. I don't think that it's possible that you'll hate either of them. If you already like one of them, I'm pretty confident you will like the other. For instance, I really like that the Widows solve some of my problems that I have with Prismas. Like building up colors from light to dark works so much better in Black Widows. But I also like that Prismacolors allow me to add lighter tones on top of darker ones. Yes, even over Widows. So with Prismas on the side, I'm set. Both are equally strong in the range of colors that they offer and the color saturation, but I believe that you do need a whole bunch of Black Widow sets to really feel unrestricted. Neither of the sets by itself will be enough to color and draw freely. I highly recommend getting the skin tone sets. To be honest, I didn't believe in them at first. I've seen people use them, and I used to think, what a scam! You can't limit a palette to skin tones, that's just not natural. An artist knows that you need blue tones and gray tones and green tones for the skin to look natural, and what do you know? They're all in there. It's like an actual artist actually put the set together. Highly recommend the skin tone sets. By the way, the links to both brands and a bunch of other tools that I use in the studio are in the video description. So you can follow the links and read more about these amazing pencils on Amazon. Again, neither of these brands sponsored this episode. No one paid me to make it. I just want you guys to experience what I'm experiencing. Of course, any pencil is a completely different tool in every set of hands. If you have either of these brands and would like to add something that I didn't cover, or if you're getting a completely different result, please let me know in the comments below or in my Facebook group home, The Art of Lisa Mitrakin. Speaking of which, if you're not already a member, what are you waiting for? It's the place to be if you're a colorist. We have events, giveaways, gifts, prizes, fun conversation, and everyone's really friendly and encouraging. So I'll see you there. I also wanted to thank you guys for sending me art supplies. With the amount of content that I produce for these videos, I can never have enough pencils and paper or white charcoal. No addiction there, no. So if you wish to send me something that you know I already love, or if you want to send me something brand new to review, please feel free to send stuff to the address listed in the video description. Even though I live in Chile, I now have a forwarding address in the States and another one in Europe. So you don't need to pay long distance shipping to South America. You can also reach out to me directly if you want to discuss the shipping topic further, or if you want it to be a surprise, please talk to my Facebook group admins. They'll take good care of you. Thank you guys again for everything that you do for me and my channel. I hope that I and my channel keep you happy and entertained, and always learning something new. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye! No, pero